We tied a little bow on Bass Reeves with the final 2 installments of the series. Part 7 was brief, but it did give us a good insight into Bass Reeves' mind and the tension brewing inside. Then in Part 8, we got the revenge we were all hoping for, the death of Mr. Sundown. Not before at first learning that although we thought he was killing black prisoners rather than bringing them to justice, he was actually taking them to his land where they would become slaves. Additionally, there were a few plot holes we wanted to touch on, like this scene that was in the trailer with Ginny and the KKK, but you never see it again.
Count of 5 to get the hell off my land.
Lady, you got 2 shells in that bird killer.
Then I just shoot you twice, just to be certain.
And then we're going to talk about this guy. Look familiar? Hey, y'all, you're listening to the Yellowstone Dutton Rules podcast, here with my co-host, Mr. Billy Dukes. Hey, Billy.
You have your smelly cat voice.
Hey, don't call me out like that. Yeah, y'all, if it is Adison Haager actually speaking. If I sound a little raspier, we've got a little head cold going on. So if I look and sound under the weather, well, by golly, I am. So we're just going to roll with it, and we're here, and that's all that matters.
Last podcast, we kind of left off not knowing how many episodes of Bass Reeves were remaining. And as it turns out, there was just 2. And ta-da! Bass Reeves finale aired on Sunday.
Billy, can I be honest? I'm sorry to all my Bass Reeves lovers out here. I'm glad it's over. Ugh, sorry.
Well, yeah. So I think Bass Reeves, you have to say it was really affected by the Writers and Screen Actors Guild strike.
Yes.
And I'm going to point to kind of some evidence of that as we sort of go along here. But first, let's kind of recap episodes 7 and episodes 8.
Yes.
And episode 7 was really pretty short. It was just 30 minutes long, which I think is probably the first indication that maybe that something happened that shortened production of this show.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really move the plot forward all that much. It was a little bit of a sidebar to where Bass kills a man and almost gets tried and committed for it.
Mm-hmm.
But he ends up being innocent. And then at the very end, he says he's going after Mr. Sundown.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like truly even when they arrest Moody O'Neill and then she ends up escaping because Billy Crow's cook sets Moody free. That to me, I mean, it was interesting, but to your point, I mean, that's literally one of those don't worry about it scenes because we literally never touch back on it, you know?
I guess it showed a little bit how Bass was cracking up with
Yeah.
Mr. Sundown on his mind. You know, it kind of spoke to that. And that was kind of a general theme. But, you know, even still, the Sundown sort of myth wasn't so present throughout this series that I was just dying for it to come to a conclusion. Although I will say it came to a conclusion in a kind of interesting way. I thought episode 8 was fairly interesting. And that was essentially his manhunt. We knew Mr. Sundown was Esau Pierce, played by Barry Pepper. And Bass hooks up with Billy Crow and Cheryl, Dennis Quaid's character. What'd you make of him, by the way? Cheryl Lynn. Like, what was your opinion on his character in the end?
Like, I don't think that he really played. I went into Bass Reeves thinking, oh, Cheryl Lynn will be pretty prevalent. Well, I guess both prevalent and present through the season. And he only shows up here and there. And I feel like I don't know. He just kind of Cheryl just seems meh to me. That's just how I felt. He
was sort of a hateable good guy. Like, and I was happy that in the end, he didn't ever like redeem himself. Like, he was racist from start to finish, and he never really let up on that. Like, he ends up kind of doing a solid to Billy Crow, but like, it wasn't like he was like, oh, I see the way now, and I'm going to change my ways. And I appreciated that because that would have been a little corny, I think, had he done that.
Yeah, I don't think he, like, in my eyes, he didn't come. It's not how I felt like with Mr. Sundown, but also I didn't leave going, oh, I feel rectified. Like beautiful example, Billy Crow. In the beginning, you're like, what the heck? You know, he's essentially a bad guy. In the end, I end up liking him, you know?
Yeah. So what I thought was the most interesting twist was, you know, all along we thought Mr. Sundown was kidnapping these black criminals, these black men, and killing them. We thought they were getting killed. And when Bass shows up at Esau Pierce's his mansion or his plantation, sort of built in episode 5, as he tells us it's built on dinosaur bones.
Yes,
and it's not far off.
No, Well, first off, I was a little confused with the whole dinosaur bones. I mean, I'm no archaeologist, but I was just thinking of timeline. I literally I was like, oh my gosh, we're stepping into Jurassic Park. Like this is Jurassic Park 2.0.
That was really interesting to me, though. Like
Yeah.
how they they made that real. Like his castle did have a history of an archaeologist's dig. Someone was looking for gold, and they ended up discovering all these dinosaur bones. And I mean, it wasn't built with dinosaur bones. That wasn't like the structure of the house, but there's a huge, massive dinosaur right in the foyer.
Yeah. Well, and even when Bass was approaching his place, you saw like the dinosaur tracks. I literally in my notes put dino tracks ?
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? Where are we headed? I'm confused. Land Before Time meets Bass Reeves.
His house, though, looked pretty modern, didn't it? Like, I wasn't really convinced that was like an old-timey house. Like, I even thought I saw a light switch in one scene.
Wait a minute.
I was like,
it just started to be a lot in that scene. So I think my brain just accepted. I was like, I think we just need a just full send, just embrace. But before we get to, I think it was before that scene, we get to when Jenny comes back. They're coming back after church. And am I thinking of, this is episode 8, right? Yeah. Where Jenny was coming back from church and the old slave master's wife was on the front porch, right?
That's right. Yeah, that was the end of episode 8. That was the end of episode 8. She shows up on the front porch, and this was a scene that you're referring to. Can we pin it for a second? Because I have some thoughts on Jenny.
Okay, yeah. And I want to pivot because I feel like the bigger, like we end with Mr. Sundown, so that's why I was kind of going to Jenny. So yeah, let's pivot. Let's pivot to Jenny.
All right, we're going to Jenny. All right. So I thought from start to finish, Jenny, played by Lawmen Banks, was probably the best character. She was the most interesting. She was strong. She was captivating on screen. I know David Oyelowo got nominated for the Golden Globe, but I really thought that her name was Lawmen Banks. I thought maybe she deserved it as well because she was an interesting character, great acting, but I felt like we never really got a full feel for her story arc. Like it was kind of developed, but there was even like a scene, and if you remember in the trailer for Lawmen Bass Reeves, there was a scene where she's standing on the front porch and she's got a gun pointed at men in white hoods who are pointing their guns back at her, and they have some tense conversation. We never saw that scene. That never materialized.
And did you read, I was reading up on it actually before we got on this podcast, and I wasn't necessarily satisfied with the answer that they had filmed it and then ended up cutting because they wanted to do more flashbacks with Bass. Let me see if I can actually find that. But as I'm looking for that,
that's interesting.
I can't do two things at once apparently, but let me finish my thought
for that.
Quick. Well, no, let me finish my thought real quick. I think what Jenny had and Bass lacked was Jenny's plot line. Like we've said, I've had the hardest time with this series because I have a hard time. Number one, we moved so fast. It was really hard to just get emotionally hooked with a character. But I think what they did a really good job with Jenny is that I saw different layers to her. To your point, I would love, I think like a whole like sub-series of just her story would be super cool. But I think she had enough of layers of an onion where you saw this, like we've talked about her in childbirth and seeing that and how strong she was and just kind of the emotional tension she had with running the homestead while her husband was gone and missing her husband and yada, yada, yada. I saw so many layers to her that I ended up I felt like I could just really get on board with the character. And so therefore I really enjoyed her, where I just had a harder time with Bass getting to that degree. Yeah.
Well, to kind of, maybe even to expand on that a little bit, because that's a good point. Jenny, she interacted with a much wider variety of people, be it her longtime friend Esme and Edwin, some of the townsfolk, her children. We saw a lot of different types of experiences from her, whereas with Bass, it was just family and criminal. Like it was more of a flat plot line kind of until the end. So we did see a little bit, she was put in some situations that drew a little bit more of her character out.
Here's the direct quote from the showrunner Chad Feehan that told TV Line why they cut the KKK scene. Chad says it was a moment that we shot that actually worked quite well, but so the appearance was related to Sally's experience at the town carnival, and that scene was intended for the finale. But inevitably, we decided that having Ginny and Bass both be revisited by ghosts of Christmas past, to use a very timely analogy, was more of an impactful and more of a mirrored image experience for the two of them. I don't know what they're referring to.
So they're referring to Jenny. Her ghost would be the slave master wife.
Oh, I
and
see.
Bass's ghost would be Mr. Sundown or Esau Pierce.
Instead of adding I think they could have added all of it and it would have been fine. But I mean, look, we had episode 7 was 30 minutes. Like, I don't know. I think we could have.
And episode 7 included the flaming scarecrow.
Correct.
Which the young man who Sally encounters at the carnival, he seems to be responsible for that. Like, I thought that was the beginning of something, and that really kind of truncated that plot line. Like, we never saw anything more. I thought we'd see more from Arthur, and he never materialized again. He just sort of moved on. I do have one little kind of interesting piece of trivia for you.
Oh, well, I thought of you when at the very episode 8, I literally was like, this is one of Billy's "don't worry about it" moments. I'm like, Arthur, what happened to you? Like, did you live? Did you die? There's no romance. Like, I was kind of bummed. I really enjoyed, I mean, we've talked about that. I enjoyed watching their relationship. And so it was a little bit of a bummer that never became anything.
So to end episode 7, Sally writes out a poem or song lyrics for something called Unholy War. And then throughout episode 8, it kind of returns to it. And I think eventually she gets a chance to sing it. Maybe it's even at the end of episode 8. And it's Unholy War. It goes, "My demons are coming. Boy, you better run. Go take your freedom. Oh no, wait in the water. Be gone by morning. Don't let them find you here. Oh no. Let love lead you home. Oh no. So you better run. You better run." And it kind of goes on from there. That's a real song. That's a song from 2017 by an artist named Jacob Banks. He's a Nigerian artist. I think he's kind of pop, hip hop, and gospel influenced. Maybe not gospel. I might have misread that.
What's his name?
But it's called Unholy War. Jacob Banks is his name.
Jacob Banks.
And the reason I thought to look that up is at the very end of the episode, like, they play like a recorded modern version of that song that she had written. I thought, oh, that's cool. Did they actually write this song for? No. They took the song and put it into the movie.
Cool.
I thought it was neat, although it kind of speaks to a little bit of an issue I had with Bass Reeves. This idea of what's real and factual and what's not.
I see what you're saying.
And I'll get to that more in a second here. But yeah, I guess I just would have liked to have seen more from Jenny. They could have done this in 2 seasons. Like, make the action in 1 through 4 part of one season and build it out a little bit more. And then season 2 is this battle with Esau Pierce.
Yeah, because this is, I mean, they don't plan on doing another season, right? Like, this was it.
As far as I know.
I guess we don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard.
And Jacob Banks, just because I was curious, he is singer-songwriter, soul, and R&B.
And the song has been used in a number of different video games and movies, I guess.
Oh, really?
I didn't recognize it, but I mean, I'm just kind of quoting Wikipedia here. This isn't like I went a deep dive into Jacob Banks' life and career.
I do want to pivot back to Mr. Sundown, though, if we can. I definitely feel like we ended episode 8 and I was satisfied. Essentially, Mr. Sundown is killed by Bass Reeves. And I think if we had ended the episode and there wasn't a season 2 and it didn't result in him being killed, I think I would have been bummed. Like, I needed some type of resolution for one of these situations.
So how it works is Bass gains entrance to Esau Pierce's property,
Jurassic Park,
and as he's being led to, that's a good name for it, as he's being led to the house, he realizes that Mr. Sundown hasn't been killing all these black men. He's been kidnapping them and enslaving them and using them to kind of help build what he hopes will become the world's biggest cattle ranch. And kind of wines and dines Bass. He pays him back the money Bass thinks he owes him. He feeds him a steak. He shows him the property. And then essentially he says, okay, Bass, put the cuffs on because I'm kidnapping you too, which was a little bit, I don't know, that was an awkward moment. But Billy Crow comes to the rescue with the shot. And then chaos ensues. There's a gunfight, a chase, and things kind of get out of control from there.
What I thought was interesting was he essentially admits that what he's doing, he's not killing these men, or I guess and women, but he's making them slaves and enduring agony. And he kind of admits, he's like, yeah, I know it's evil. I know it's sinister, but whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just
that
doing it.
Was there any women? Was it all men, or was there any women on his property?
I don't know about I didn't see any women, but then why I was saying that is because I was thinking of Moody O'Neill, and then I was like, well, in theory, if they had ever captured anyone else, like I just assumed like it could go either way.
A number of people are killed in sort of the shootout, including Cheryl Lynn, who dies after getting caught in a bear trap.
Oh, that scene.
Yeah. Bear trap scenes are always tough.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was at first because I was watching it during the day, and so the way it got like really dark on my computer screen, and so I could just hear it at first, and then I was like reverse, because then obviously Cheryl Lynn is on the ground, so I was like, how did I reverse this thing? And I like shut the blind so I could see, and the sun wasn't shining on the screen, and I was like, oh, I did not. The sound was enough. I did not actually need to see that again. Yeah. Gruesome.
Did you notice any similarities between the way that Bass kills Esau Pierce and the way that John Dutton killed Malcolm Beck?
No.
Think about it.
My brain wasn't there, but I'm going there now. Okay. I mean,
both kind of out in a field. They're alone. There's a wounding and a short conversation first, and then sort of a fulfillment of duty.
But I feel like those types of scenes, or like those moments in series like this, it's like always how it happens. It's like the protagonist, antagonist are like isolated, and so you kind of get this moment of just like sole focus on the situation instead of like mass chaos. Oh, Esau Pierce gets shot in the mass chaos, and it's like your brain can't really like have that like full fulfillment. I don't know. That's just where my brain goes with it. Like, I don't know if that's like a historical moment or if that was shot intentional for the more emotional provoking.
I felt that Mr. Sundown needed an epic death, and I did not think that his death was epic. Like that scene, it was just kind of...
Is it factual?
Oh, we got him. No, that's
because...
No, because that I don't think Esau Pierce or Mr. Sundown is a real character.
Oh,
like I think this whole sequence is kind of created for this show, which is kind of what I struggle with. Like, we have this sequence where Bass killed a man and was put on trial and maybe went to... Is that real? I'm not certain. And this whole demon where he's kind of chasing Mr. Sundown, like, there's what's real and what isn't. And even the way it ends with kind of like a happily ever after tone. Bass comes home and he's like, I'm home for good. And he's spinning his wife and kids around. It's like, that's not true. He went and did that for another 30 damn years.
Yeah. and I think that, to your point, that was kind of the moment of them just having to... Yeah, it what am I trying to say? It almost feels like a school project that you have months to work on, and then for whatever reason things come up and you have this grand plan of it's going to be epic, and then you just end up getting closer to the deadline and you kind of half-ass it where you're like, okay, just throw something together perfect, if it'll get me like the letter grade and I'll be good to go.
Yeah.
That's a little bit how this feels at the end, where it's like, all right, like we just had to tie a bow on it. Okay, great. Happy. He smiles for the first time, I think, like ever. Also, wow, I'm winded. talking about that. Real passionate. My body can't take it.
Calm
That's
down.
so sad. Gosh,
Captain
yeah.
COVID.
That's Hey, no. Oh, I was gonna say something though that had to do something like that with that, and I don't remember because I got way too on a tangent. I'm looking at my notes. Oh. What I think they should have done is at the beginning, honestly, maybe of every episode, what they, gosh, I need to come down a little bit. What they needed to do was, since it wasn't completely factual, on some movies where, and I'm trying to think of a specific movie and I can't, where it'll say inspired by true events.
Yes.
Like, I think it might have, it should have said that because you and I are deep diving, but I'm going to be honest. If I did my initial research and read what this series was based on, and then I just went from there, like I didn't do any research after each episode, I might have just assumed like, yeah, it's all factual, like I think maybe giving a little bit of disclaimer of, hey, not all of this is by the book.
It presents at times like a serial series where like you can dive in, watch an episode and jump out and kind of get the feel for and enjoy it and feel what's going on. Like certain episodes weren't connected, but then there's this overrunning arc and the importance of who this character was that is impossible to sort of push out of your purview as you're watching. I would watch like a Bass Reeves type show that was like a serial, a serial series where each episode, I would watch that like an Adventures of almost like a Monk, which is a really bad comparison because that's kind of a comedic investigation.
I know,
but you know what I mean? Like you kind of jump in, you jump out.
Yeah.
I would watch that with Bass Reeves. That would be pretty interesting.
So the question for you is, who was your favorite character from the series? I think we potentially might have the same one.
Bass's wife.
Yeah, that was going to be mine too.
Yeah.
She's the most
dynamic.
She was the
most interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Donald Sutherland's Judge Parker was very good.
Yeah, I agree.
And I could see why David Oyelowo, I've never figured out how to say that.
Shoot, we did okay, just
Oyelowo.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand why he got a Golden Globes nomination because his acting was very good. No doubt about it. I just object to his character a little bit.
The only thing that really bugged me, and it's nothing to him. Well, it might be actually everything to him, but and I just would more so want to hear the real person's voice. His voice sounded too fake when he was trying to do this. It just sounded like we were doing this it was a little much where I was like, I think we could have lessened up a little. I started laughing a little bit on the last episode and I was like, Addison, why are we bad at it? Like we should not be laughing, but there was moments where I was like, this feels so forced.
I want to challenge you on something and I don't know if I have the answer to this.
Okay.
We're both, what's the best way to ask this question?
I don't know what you're about to ask me.
Does our experience sort of taint our opinion of this show? And what I mean by that is like if someone had some Native ancestry or African-American ancestry or just even a little deeper appreciation of what slavery felt like and true discrimination felt like. I mean, we're two middle-class white kids, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To what extent is our upbringing missing the point of this show? And I do kind of wonder about that. Like maybe we're not the ones who should love the show.
No, I mean, that's I don't have an answer for that because
yeah, I don't either.
I mean, that would be a question to bring someone else in and ask their perspective. But no, I mean, that's a good point.
One last piece of trivia on this. I know you're not a Marvel series fan.
No, right? But I know what you're going to tell me because I wrote it down as well.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Rob Morgan is the actor who played Ramsey, and he played Turk from like the Daredevil movies. He's the guy that Daredevil beats up all the time. And I guess he's considered one of like the 25 best actors in the world, like a phenomenal actor. And I can certainly see why. He was very good in that small role, but I thought that was cool.
Yeah. I'm proud that I knew that random fact. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm impressed as well. You usually don't do that sort of IMDb
Thank you, Billy. Well, I really felt like I had to, specifically with this, I had to come to the table with a little bit more, since I feel like Bass Reeves has been a little bit more your bread and butter, where I haven't had as much commentary, not because I don't care, just because it's been a little harder for me to get invested in. So I knew, I was like, I gotta come with some appetizers for this party.
It's appreciated. I'll bring the napkins.
Yeah, okay. Remind me what this last trivia was, our last episode. It's been a hot minute. My brain's all over the place with the holidays, so please remind me.
It has been a couple of weeks. We are going to pause on the podcast here for several weeks. And we'll in a second, we'll talk a little bit more about the video version of this podcast as well. But we did ask a trivia question last week. We're not going to have a new one this week because we're not sure when we'll get back to new episodes. But the question had to do with the Yellowstone season 2 finale, where John Dutton at the very beginning is alongside of his father, who is dying up on the hilltop. And his father is played by Dabney Coleman, really well-known actor. Which country star did Dabney Coleman appear in a very famous movie with?
Yeah, I didn't know. Who is it?
You did know.
Oh, crud.
You were all geeked up about knowing.
Shoot. Dadgum. Yeah, you know. Dang it. You're right.
I'll give you a clue.
Man, Billy, I was so excited, and now I don't remember. Oh, can you give me a hint?
You want a hint?
Shoot. Yeah. Oh, I was so excited.
Trying to think of a hint that doesn't give it away altogether. Well, hell. Working 9 to 5.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yes. Can I say the answer?
Yes.
It was Dolly Parton. Yes. Okay. Yeah, because I immediately knew. Yes, that's what it was. I was so excited because I've seen that movie many times, but I recently watched that, and then, is it First Wives Club? Yeah, First Wives Club. They have no relation to each other, but similar vibes.
Dabney played the boss, like the manager, who Dolly famously says, "I'm going to turn you from a rooster to a hen."
Yeah.
In that movie. That was Dabney Coleman. He's had many roles beyond that, but Dolly Parton was the correct answer. 9 to 5 was the movie, and we had several people who knew it, so I'm just going to name a couple who said it first. Okay. Congratulations to Debbie and Robert. No relation, as far as I know. They both knew that Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 was the movie Dabney Coleman was in, and for that, today is your day. The holiday season, all the blessings are going to come your way this holiday season, and 2024 is going to be a richer, more prosperous year, and you're going to get a new car. I just thought I'd throw that in there. Yeah, wow, I mean, why not? It sounds nice, doesn't it?
Billy's actually footing the bill for that. He was unaware as he just gave that.
I mean, well, kind of see.
Billy's actually giving you his car.
Staff at Taste of Country.
He's going to turn it in for his bike. Okay, continue.
Staff at tasteofcountry.com if you have any questions, comments, or corrections for the show. The 3 C's, as I call them. No trivia this week, but we'll get back to it in 2024.
Amen. Okay, let's fill people in why you might not be seeing our bright and shiny faces anymore.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of reasons. We're going to push pause on it mostly because I think it'll work best when there's actually new episodes to talk about.
I agree. So it's not a no. Like, anyone who's hearing this, we're not saying we're getting rid of you seeing me and Billy for good. It's just like, let's just maybe marinate when the new season comes out.
We hoped maybe going to YouTube video would kind of grow the audience, and what has actually happened is it's sort of split the audience, which isn't really all that effective. Like, we're getting the same amount of people. Like, we almost had 500,000 downloads last year, but we're not finding new people on YouTube. And it's so, I think when there's new episodes and there's more new things to talk about, I think the audience that's watching originally on Paramount or Paramount Plus is much more invested in this as well. Like, the CBS audience isn't craving this kind of conversation on a week-to-week basis in the same sort of way.
Totally. And truly, all, thank you so much for all the ratings, reviews, shares, comments. Sometimes people will tweet us. I don't know if you've seen a few of those, Billy. And it's always fun, even for me. Like, I can speak for myself and I can speak for Billy as well. It's fun. Like, we both enjoy this, but it's really fun when, we read those emails or the tweets or the comments and on YouTube, and it's fun that y'all are just as excited. So truly thank you for all the ratings, reviews. Continue to rate, review, share us. It really does mean a lot, and it's the reason that we can keep doing this. So know that, like I've said before in an episode, for the longest of time, when people would say that at the end of podcasts or YouTube videos, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, can you stop saying that? And then I realized I was like, oh no, it actually makes a difference. So I truly I really, really appreciate it.
One of our comments today is from someone who tweeted at us, actually. But let's talk about a couple of updates on some other Taylor Sheridan shows briefly first.
Yeah, you got that, Billy. I'm going to give that to you.
Well, 1923 is, I mean, that's what we get asked about the most. Mm-hmm. And that is still very much an unknown on when that's returning. I'm actually leaning towards it returning after Yellowstone premieres, just kind of based on what I've seen. A little bit of a interesting did you know, though.
Ooh.
Julia Schlepfler, who plays Alex on 1923, appears to be very good friends with Tim McGraw's daughter, Gracie.
I kind of knew that because I think, in my social media stalking that we do every now and then, they comment on each other's stuff. Or Gracie just, please hold. I think Gracie or Michelle just posted something, and one of them commented, and in my head I was like, oh, yeah, what? Sorry, continue where you were headed with that.
They hang out a lot together. I don't know necessarily how I define the relationship, but they're all over each other's Instagram page, which is super cute. So yeah, no word on 1923. Yellowstone season 3 last week, we left it off as not knowing if it was going to come to CBS. Lo and behold, season 3 is coming to CBS, and it is a blitzkrieg of Yellowstone on CBS in January, starting January 14th. I think it's 3 episodes, followed by the next week is like 2 or 3 more episodes. Like within 3 weeks, they're going to run all 10 episodes of season 3 on CBS, and they'll be done before February.
If you needed something to binge, we've got you covered. Oh, here they are. Let's see. Julia Schlepfler.
I don't know. Yep, that's the picture I'm talking about. They're having a little swipe through there, though.
So demanding, really Billy. Here's another one, everyone.
Yeah, that looks to be the same one.
Okay, well, I am just. Oh, we got a little kissy. What?
Well, see, this is that's the one I'm getting a little gossipy here. But that to me looks like. That's why I said I don't know the nature of the relationship. I mean, that looks like a pretty friendly, like you might kiss your sister.
Yeah, that just seems playful for me. Of course, Addison naturally goes to the comment section.
I would. Well. I mean, it was unknown. I was kind of trying to figure out what the deal was there.
I don't think I'm reading into that. That just looks like a playful.
No speculation there. I don't care either way, but it was interesting to me because I'm surely they met through
Tim.
Golly, how would they have met? Because Tim wasn't involved with 1923. Like that show.
But think about it. Number one, they're both in the arts, Gracie and Julia. Okay, number one. True. There's got to be, I'm not saying like a group text of all of the people who have been involved with Taylor Sheridan's stuff, but there's got to be a lot of like overlap. Like surely they've been to like a movie premiere or I don't know, just some type of press thing. Like I have no doubt that they all somewhat interact just because they're all under the same series. So, not the series. They're all under the same, just like Taylor Sheridan world.
Yeah, like he throws just a kickin' Halloween party every year, and that's how.
Yeah, think about like
girls met him.
That world is like the acting world's big, but it's also really small. I could say that about the music world. Where I just think it's easy to overlap. Speaking from experience.
I would never have that. I would never have those kind of friends because I never assume that anybody is like actually interested in like the famous people who actually want to be a friend. I assume they're just it's always professional and transactional. So maybe there's been some artists in the country world who have wanted to be friends. And I think actually there legitimately have been like some people who have like reached out like, hey, that's I'm like, yeah, sure. Whatever. Like you mean
Wait, are you saying like for you, like being a journalist, like artist friends? Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that's funny that you say that. I think we've talked about that. I've recently felt like, do you want to be my friend or do you like essentially just eventually want to send me your song? Like I see the best in people until then it like burns me and I'm like, oh, okay. You you just wanted something from me. It's okay. I'm fine. I'll go cry about it later. So you're saying in the acting world, you could see like, are Julia and Gracie like really just friends, or do
They
want
probably are. No. I think they're
once
probably really cool.
Addison assuming the best in people. I'm gonna go with I think they're friends.
No, I agree.
We really rabbit holed here.
A little
should
bit.
We crawl out?
I often go down the McGraw Girls Instagram page because there's some really interesting stuff. The one daughter is always on piano playing like these classic country songs.
Audrey.
And it's, I can never remember the names.
It's Audrey.
Yeah, Audrey. Yeah,
Maggie's
so it's super interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gracie's the oldest.
You know, and I'm just gonna say a statement, and we can get back on track. They would be amazing candidates. I don't ever see them doing this, but a reality TV show.
Oh yeah, that would be interesting.
I do not see them doing that, but I would love to see, like, especially since Faith Hill isn't in the music scene anymore. You know what I mean? Like, she's not putting out new music, so she's kind of obviously Tim is. He is out there with all his music. He's still very much so present, but I don't know. I just think
I'd watch that.
I'd love it. Yeah, I'd watch it.
Yeah.
Can I head over to comments? I think we just have one today. Okay.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Everyone, take a deep breath. Let's get our Focus Fox brain on, because this one's going to take some thinking. And I'm going to get a good breath in because my lungs are at half capacity here. Alrighty. This is from Johnny, who says, are you ready, Billy?
I'm listening.
Okay, good. Do you think that Casey and John, when talking about fighting to keep the ranch, referring back to John's great-grandfather as a hint that John's great-grandfather is James Dutton, Tim McGraw, meaning that Spencer, from 1923, is John's grandfather? It's the line where Casey talks about fighting for the ranch to his dad, saying, your dad and his dad, and then John responds, and his dad before him. Just saying.
Short answer. If I had to bet on how the family tree plays out, I would bet that's it.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Spencer is John Dutton's grandfather. Is John Dutton's great-grandfather.
Because we've always discussed in 1923, we're like, was Alex pregnant? Oh my gosh, why am I forgetting Michelle Randolph's name in the series? No, that's it.
I don't remember either.
Oh my gosh. Okay, anyways, Michelle Randolph's character, we had wondered where obviously she miscarried, but like we see that in 1923, but we're like, maybe she gets pregnant again. Like we've always kind of wondered like who. Yeah.
Michelle Randolph is... that's almost more plausible to me because Michelle Randolph is Tim McGraw's character's granddaughter-in-law or something like that, right?
Elizabeth Stratford.
Yes. Elizabeth. I think that's I think if I was to put money on, I would say Spencer is probably John's. That's where it all stems from, is Spencer, but I don't know. But do I think that it was written with 1923 in that lineage in mind?
I have a hard time believing that, only because I feel like Taylor is kind of creating these things as he goes.
He has, but throughout watching season 1 of 2 of Yellowstone, I've written down a number of cases where it's like, oh, yeah, that was a little Easter egg dropped here, and then in season 4 or 5, or even in a different series, it sort of turns out and comes to be. So, like, he might have, at the very least, gone back to that conversation to sort of spell out the timeline.
Do you remember what I just thought about was when Alex and Spencer had the whiskey glasses?
They
might not be whiskey. The crystal.
Yeah.
And then you go back to Yellowstone, and we did a whole video on that of like if that was an Easter egg, because we see them in the Duttons like wine bar.
Yeah, I picked up on a lot of those, so I think it's possible. But that's a great question, and obviously right in my alley, or right in my wheelhouse. So Johnny was the one who actually tweeted that question as well, and then he followed up with an email.
Thanks, Johnny.
Really appreciate his contribution.
Anything else we have? I think we covered it.
I don't think so. I hope everybody has a good holiday.
Yeah, happy holidays. Hopefully it's a good one. Holidays are always a mix of emotion, but I hope that y'all have a great holiday, a restful holiday.
I feel like you're looking to talk about something, Addison. The holidays
No,
you're not looking for it? It looks to me like maybe you're not looking forward to your holiday. That was a heavy sigh there when it comes to holiday planning.
Let's just say,
Family
Addison, let's just say we're not going to deep dive into that right now, but let's just say Addison's holiday is going to look a little different than past holidays. And as an adult, where am I trying to go with this? As an adult, you just see things as they are and you're just embracing it. And you're learning how to take the role as not a fixer. That was vague, but I gave you enough. So,
you know what I say when things kind of go sideways, and instead of just wallowing in the misery of it, I say it's a growth opportunity.
Mine this year has been not my monkey, not my circus, in a healthy way of Addison's learning when I don't need to be a fixer, and it's okay for other people to learn how to fix things. So not my monkey, not my circus. I do love my family, but it's going to be an interesting Christmas.
All right. Leave the guns in the truck.
That was funny.
I think this is the second straight podcast episode where we've insulted family.
We have, and it's funny, Billy. I didn't think my mother listened to the podcast, and she did.
Oh, she did.
Like, yeah, she brought up the wedding I went to in Houston. So she's like, "So, I heard you and Billy say XYZ." I was like, "Oh, I'm so appreciative that you listened to the podcast." She found it funny, but I was like, "Oh, you do listen to the." I'm so honored that you listen to the podcast, but you listen.
My mom does not, so I could say whatever I wanted to. All right, new podcast. We'll just discuss our personal problems.
Our personal problems, and maybe y'all can relate. No, love my family. Yeah, we're all an open book here at the Haager household, so it's all good.
Good.
Thanks, y'all, again for listening to the Yellowstone Dutton Rules podcast. Once again, this is another interesting and investigated. What? That was not English.
I don't know what that is.
Maybe I need to take a nap.
Take a second try on that one.
Investigating. Oh, I'm crying. I'm laughing so hard. So emotional over this podcast. Y'all, thank you for watching. I think I'm just going to leave that there. This is another amazing Town Square Media podcast.
It's Billy? Like that scene from the first Car movie when the main character has to kind of like drag the other character over the finish line to get him to finish. That's what I feel like. I'm Lightning McQueen right now, and you're the old timer car, and I'm just like, come on, we're almost there. Hey.
Addison's losing her mind. It's almost Christmas. She's crying because she's laughing, but people probably think that she's just losing it. Alrighty, y'all. Have a great holiday. We will see you in the new year. Peace out, Cub Scouts.